was Jesus teaching in the parables of the hidden treasure, pearl of great price, and Dragnet? These are the questions that we seek to answer today as we continue our verse-by-verse study of the book of Matthew on walking through the Bible. If you have a Bible with you, you can turn to Matthew chapter 13. We're going to be reading from verses 44 to 52. If you don't have a Bible, don't worry. Just follow along with us on the screen. The version that we'll be reading from is the New King James Version. So, Matthew chapter 13, beginning at verse 44. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like treasure hidden in a field, which a man found and hid, and for joy over it, he goes and sells all that he has and buys the field. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who, when he had found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. Again, the kingdom of heaven is like a dragnet that was cast into the sea and gathered some of every kind, which, when it was full, they drew to shore, and they sat down and gathered the good into vessels, but threw the bad away. So it will be at the end of the age. The angels will come forth, separate the wicked from among the just, and cast them into the furnace of fire. There will be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Jesus said to them, "Have you understood all these things?" They said to him, "Yes, Lord." Then he said to them, "Therefore every scribe instructed concerning the kingdom of heaven is like a householder who brings out of his treasure things new and old." In this chapter, we have been looking at some of the parables taught by Jesus during his ministry. Matthew has, in chapter 13, recorded for us 7 of Jesus' parables, of which we have covered 4. For discussions of these other 4 parables, please go to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/East End Church of Christ and look under the Matthew playlist. In today's reading, we have 3 more parables: the parable of the hidden treasure, the parable of the pearl of great price, and the parable of the dragnet. These parables are all about the kingdom of heaven, the church, and are unique in that they are only found in the book of Matthew. When it comes to the context from verse 36 that we read in the last episode, we find that Jesus had dismissed the multitudes and gone into the house. So his explanation of the parable of the tares, as well as these 3 parables, were told in private. In the parable of the hidden treasure, the kingdom of heaven, the church, is like treasure hidden in a field, which when a man finds it, he then hides it again somewhere in that field where he could find it again. And because of the joy he had gained from finding this treasure in the first place, he goes and sells all that he has to obtain the field. Now some conclude that this man committed fraud by not telling the landowner of the presence of the treasure, therefore purchasing the land for a much lower value. But this parable doesn't say that. It says that the man sold all that he had in order to gain this treasure. Why do we assume that he paid less than the land was worth? He could have easily paid more. Regardless, though, the point of this parable was to teach the value of the church and the salvation that is taught by the church, for that is what is represented by the treasure. The church of Christ is valuable and is to be seen as valuable. Many don't see it that way today, which is evidenced by the fact that they think that they can attend any church that they choose and obey God how they choose. The church and salvation are so valuable, though, that the person who wants to be a part of the church, even if they stumble onto it, will do anything, including sacrificing everything, so that they can be a part of it and be saved. Jesus teaches a similar lesson in the parable of the pearl of great price. In that parable, we have a merchant who was searching for pearls, who, when he found one pearl of great price, went and sold all that he had in order to gain it. Again, the church is so valuable, and salvation is so valuable, that we should not want to only obtain it, but we should go out of our way to obtain it, for there is nothing like it. The parable of the dragnet is different than the 2 parables we just discussed, in that this is a parable of judgment. In that sense, it is similar in teaching to the parable of the tares that we talked about in the last episode. In this parable, a dragnet, or a large net, is cast into the sea. All sorts of fish will be caught up in the net, and when the fishermen get to the shore, they separate the good fish from the bad fish, throwing the bad fish away, but storing the good fish in vessels. Jesus said this will be like the end of the age, when the angels will separate the just from the wicked and cast the wicked into hell. What is Jesus teaching here? Well, first of all the saved are going to be in the net, which is the church. Note that there is only one net, not many nets, so there is only one church. Not one fish was saved which was not in this one net, so we cannot be saved and not be part of Christ's one true church. Second, just because we might be members of Christ's one true church here on earth doesn't mean we're going to be saved. Several bad fish made it to shore, yet they were cast away. We must be righteous if we're going to be saved, and we can only be righteous if we, through faithful obedience, continue in God's grace. Otherwise, we will be lost. Jesus asked his disciples if they understood these things, to which they said that they did. He concludes by saying that therefore every scribe who was instructed concerning the kingdom of heaven would be able to aptly teach others, represented by treasure, because scribes were well versed in the word of God, so much so that if they understood what it said about the kingdom, they could use that understanding to help teach others. With that, our time is up for today. The Lord willing, we hope you'll join us for tomorrow's discussion of Matthew 13, verses 53 to 58, as we continue our walk through the Bible, one verse at a time. Thank you for watching today's episode. We hope that you found it edifying and ask that you not only subscribe to our channel and podcast, but that you like and share this episode among your friends, so that the saving gospel of Jesus Christ can go out to the whole world.